station! Help me! Help me! Something's trying to eat my brain!
Ooh, looky. Stubbs the zombie wants to cream my cookie. Back in the day, I owned Stubbs on the original Xbox. After completing it, I felt my time eating brain slurpees was done, and I thought I would never play it again. So at the time, I sold it alongside other games unworthy of taking up space. Years later, I came across it on eBay to find that a decent copy sold for around 60 quid. Annoyed that I traded mine in for a few beans, I was determined to get another copy. So one night, feeling petulant and vengeful about this loss, I whacked down 50 quid for a copy. After Stubbs arrived, the matter was put to bed. It was in my collection, never to be thought of again, and over time I thought it would increase in value. Unfortunately, the opposite happened, because for some unknown reason, Stubbs got a remaster for the PS4 and Xbox One. Furious now, my original copy was actually selling for less than half of what I paid for it, I decided to double down and buy a hard copy for the PS4. It was about 16 quid. My thinking was Stubbs would be a priority to play, however a few weeks passed and it was still shrink wrapped. Then the final insult came. It was a day like any other. I got my jar of pennies, excited to see what deals were about on the PS Store, to then come across the digital copy of Stubbs to see that it was on sale for 3 quid. The whiplash from the shock almost put me in a box. This game was actively coming back from the dead repeatedly to troll me, and I wasn't going to take it. So instead of buying a new fun game on the cheap, I bought the digital copy of Stubbs because I don't know when I have lost.
It's sexual and violent. I thought you might like it.
With a renewed vigour to complete it, I kept my PS4 and Xbox copy on my desk as motivation to actually play it. Unfortunately now, my PS4 copy will forever stay shrink wrapped as a painful reminder that Stubbs will always have the last laugh no matter what. It's as worthless as the original copy now. With no other options left, I decided the only way to claw back any value from this financial blunder was to spend weeks of my time making a review for it. And as punishment, I completed it 3 times. That's the story of why I'm reviewing a game no one cared about when it came out, or cares about it now. You see, the only reason people cared about this game was because after its release it gained value. This game is factually bad. No one can stand there and honestly say that this is a good game and you should play it. To people that have said otherwise, you're lying, and I will prove that in this review. I'm not going to cover every detail that is wrong with this game because it's unnecessary. Just look at it. I'm not salty. Stubbs the Zombie was a collaboration between Aspyr and Wideload Games. Released in 2005, this was both companies' first original game. Before this, Aspyr ported games from Windows to Mac, a cash cow they went back to after releasing Stubbs. You'll find out why. Surprisingly, they're still around doing the odd remaster here and there for real studios, but their bread and butter is sticking to porting games to various platforms, iOS being their preference. That's the digital creative equivalent of moving a box from one side of the room to the other. If you go on their site, you would think that they have originally developed some half-decent games, but if you dig a little deeper, you'll find that's not true. Again, they only remaster. However, they claim to have made the games. It's a bit deceptive, because the games have already been made. All they do is cheaply up-res games for a remaster. On the other hand, Wideload Games have a bit more to them. They were acquisitioned by Disney in 2009, but before that, the founder, Alex Serapian, created Bungie in 1991 and sold it to Microsoft. After overseeing the formidable Halo Combat Evolved in 2001, Alex left Bungie by 2002 and started Wideload Games the following year. Later, Disney closed the studio in 2014. So, Stubbs didn't really have much of a chance of being a decent game from the start. Sure, Alex had a bit of expertise from Halo, but that was never going to make up for the lack of experience both studios had making an original game from the ground up. Now, the best way I can describe Stubbs the Zombie is a proof of concept game. It's the sort of thing an independent developer would take to a big publisher to show that an idea is feasible when they've run out of money. It feels like this because Stubbs is very short and rough around the edges. The main selling point of Stubbs is that you can play as the head zombie, and it is inferred that you will have a horde of zombies at your disposal. The story is, well, watch this.
Don't go away! Don't leave! Don't walk away, man! Come on!
It was a hot summer night in 1933. I was just a girl.
Yes?
He was quite a man. I couldn't resist his charms. Everything was real sweet until Father got home. He dragged my little Eddie out, and that was the last I saw of him. Until now. Father never told me what happened to him. But 9 months later, I had a little something to remember him by.
Are you telling me my daddy was a traveling salesman?
Yeah, so Stubbs is a dirty old door-to-door salesman who hopped in a sack with a farmer's daughter. And there's no getting around the fact that the game implies that the girl is of questionable age.
I was just a girl.
Yes?
He was quite a man.
But according to Wiki, the controversial part of this game was cannibalism. Who cares about what zombies do? Go ahead, be a zombie, eat people's brains, that's fine, go nuts. But when you shack up with a young girl in this situation, it's just dirty. There's no fun kind of way of selling this. I think I speak for most people when I say that I agree with the farmer for shooting this creep. And that's the creep we're gonna play as. Stubbs comes back from the dead for reasons, still with a raging hard-on. He decides that he will try to find the farmer's daughter again for round 2. This time she is appropriately aged and has a son who is the mayor of the town. As the head zombie, you have special abilities other than lightly slapping and biting people. You can detach your hand and play as the thing walking around with the ability to possess people. This is very useful as most of the people you encounter have guns. It's far more efficient to shoot people rather than running in and trying to scratch people while taking bullets. So for the most part, this zombie game is actually a really basic third-person shooter. It's worth mentioning that this zombie outbreak is the viral kind. What this means is that people only turn into zombies if they are killed by a zombie. My most used ability is Deliver. It's simply a grenade that turns people into zombies and blows off limbs. The ability I used the least was the head roll. Stubbs can detach his head and roll it like a bowling ball, then you can steer it and explode it. I found the animation took too long to bother with it and has no real advantage over Deliver. And of course you get a big fart. This stuns everyone nearby, so you can easily just have a little nibble on them all. All of these abilities are recharged by eating brains. Some abilities like the head roll need more brains to recharge than others. The objective in the levels for the most part is to go from A to B. I later found out eating people is more of an option as a lot of the game you can simply walk past people and get to wherever you need to go. It is why there is a trophy for completing the game in under 2 hours. Later levels offer more engaging objectives and variety, such as mini-bosses, peeing in the water supply and driving a tractor. Trust me, it sounds more fun than it actually is. The AI is nothing special, just about managing the very basics. Enemies have an aiming priority for Stubbs regardless of easier targets. I did find that for some reason every level that I played, people always get stuck twitching like this. One of the most infuriating optional objectives is to beat the chief of police in a dance-off. what can I say, it's quirky. The game is Simon Says, hit the colours in the corresponding order on the D-pad. If you want the trophy, do it flawlessly for 5 waves. Heads up, the description for this trophy says, "We thought that was impossible. It certainly was for me." Now I get the throw out something wacky humour, but why is this so hard? In being so, the joke is completely ruined, taking away the little laugh it might earn. Something which could have been funny is the single worst thing about this game. Did they program this intentionally hard, or could they not program it correctly? You can be the judge of that one. The jumping is absolutely bonkers, with a strange mid-air attack. It looks like Stubbs is trying to leapfrog over someone, and I'm not convinced the attack works most of the time. Again, was this something that they didn't get round to correcting, or was it intentional? It's hard to say. The zombies can be given orders to follow you, however most of the time they can't be bothered, and there is a number cap with how many can actually follow you. This quickly put an end to the idea of gathering a half-decent army of zombies and unleashing them, as I could only actually get 2 or 3 to follow me at any one time. Now, listening to the creator logs that can be found tucked away on levels, it sounded like they wanted Stubbs to be able to gather a horde of zombies, but for whatever reason they couldn't make it happen. So if your interest in this game was based on controlling a half-decent horde of zombies and having big fights, you will be disappointed. At no point in this game does that happen. The only way I can see that it would have been possible is if they programmed all of the zombies to automatically follow Stubbs, like mindless zombies. I know, it's easy for me to say. But you see, the main draw of this game isn't actually here. The few zombies you can get to follow you are quickly killed, as the majority of enemies have guns. There are points where NPCs slowly spawn in to boost the numbers a bit, but they trickle out too spaced apart for there ever to be a decent battle, and for the most part they follow pre-programmed routes with the same outcome. In my opinion, they may as well not be there for the most part. I found the best use for the zombies was to use them to distract armed enemies. While the zombies were being shot, sometimes I would be able to quickly get round the back of a person and do an instant kill. Now, on the plus side of the game, it's not hard, it's short. The humour is pretty good in places, and there are glimpses where I felt the intentions of the game nearly came together. I do like the setting, and something about this makes me want to resist being too harsh on it, even though there are plenty of aspects to pick on. Maybe it's because there is nothing like this out there, and still to this day no one has looked at Stubbs and realised it's the kind of game people actually want. Interestingly, on the Platinum Trophy, the developers have written "Demand a sequel." But does anyone want another Stubbs? Did anyone want this? Can Aspyr actually make a sequel worth playing? That being said, if it was announced, I would be into it if Aspyr weren't the ones making it, because I think this concept could be made into something pretty decent, if the right people were working on it. The foundation and concepts are here, but I can't see a sequel happening. If it does, I think THQ Nordic should give the project to Black Forest Games, as they have done well with the Destroy All Humans franchise, and their experience on that franchise would transfer well to developing a new Stubbs game. This is the sort of mid-tier game that THQ Nordic like to bankroll. After all, they did remaster The Raven. Has anyone played the original? With that being said, maybe there is a chance for Stubbs too. Though I doubt it, as the sales couldn't have been particularly encouraging from the Stubbs remaster, as the digital copy was discounted down to £3, not long after it was available. This is one of those games I wouldn't recommend to anyone. People's imagination of what this type of game could be will always be far better than this game.